Okay, in order to factor this trinomial, x squared minus 10x plus 24, this is written in form ax squared plus bx plus c, where the a in this case happens to just be 1. We'll look at that. We'll look at different coefficients for a later in the week. The first thing you want to do is you want to take the value of c, 24, and factor it out. What that means is list out the pairs of numbers that multiply by each other to give you 24. Always start with the number 1 times 24, then go to 2. 2 multiplies by 12 to give you 24. 3 multiplies by 8. 4 multiplies by 6. Notice how close the numbers 4 and 6 are. The only number that's between them is the number 5, and it doesn't multiply by anything to get 24. So those are your factors of 24. You don't have to go any farther than that. There are no others. Now, once you have those factors of 24, you have to determine out of those pairs, when you combine them, meaning when you add them or subtract them, which ones will get you to the value 10. Don't look at the fact that it's positive or negative yet. Just look at the value of b as being 10. When you check the first pair, 1 and 24, if you add those together, you're going to get 25. If you add two negative versions of them together, you're going to get negative 25. Either way, you're going to get the number 25, which is not 10. So this pair doesn't get you to 10, so this is not going to be a viable pair. The second set, 2 and 12, when you put them together, is going to give you 14, or it's going to give you negative 14 if they were negative. If you subtract them, you're going to get 10, or you're going to get negative 10. So that's going to get us to the value 10. This is one possible pair because it gets us to the value 10. That's what we're looking for. 3 and 8, when you put those together, they're going to give you 11. Again, that 11 can be positive or negative. When you subtract them from each other, you're going to get 5. Again, that could be positive or negative. So 11 or 5, neither of those is the number 10. When you put 4 and 6 together, you'll get the number 10. When you subtract them, you'll get the number 2. Again, both of those numbers can be either positive or negative, 10 or 2. But one of the values is 10, so we can use that. So now we have to determine it's between those two pairs that we're going to use. What you do is you open up your set, open up yourself a set of two parentheses, open and close. And then what we're doing is we're going to work FOIL in reverse. In order to get x squared, you multiply x times x. That's all you need to write for right now. X times x. This sign plus this one here tells us that both of our numbers will either be positive or both of them will be negative. They won't be opposite. One won't be plus and the other minus. They'll either both be plus plus or both minus minus. So what that means is that takes subtraction off the table. So as you look at 2 and 12, 2 minus 12 gives you 10, or negative 10 in this case, but subtraction is off the table. So all you can do is add 2 plus 12 and get 14, which is not the number we're looking for, or negative 2 plus a negative 12, same thing, just with negative values, and get negative 14. Either way, the only thing you can get to is the number 14, so that eliminates this as a possible pair. The only pair we have left is 4 and 6. So notice we didn't put anything between the x and the 4 and the x and the 6 yet. This sign a second ago we said was positive, so it tells us that both of them are plus or both of them are minus. Once you know that, look at the other sign, minus, the one that's in front of b, and that means both of them will be negative. Minus 4, minus 6. This is the correct answer to factoring out. If you are unsure, FOIL it out and see. Remember, FOIL means first, so x times x is x squared. O means outer, x times negative 6 is negative 6x. I means inner, Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And L means last. Negative 4 times negative 6 is a positive 24. So we have x squared, and it's plus 24. When we combine our like terms, negative 6x and negative 4, we get negative 10x. Notice that trinomial is the same trinomial we started with, x squared minus 10x plus 24. So your factors x minus 4 times x minus 6. Number 2 says x squared plus 10x plus 9. First thing you do, put yourself a set of parentheses. Then we're going to factor out the c value. Remember, the c value is 9. There are fewer factors here. 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. Those are the only ones that work. So when we add those pairs, 1 plus 9, we're either going to get the number 10 or we're going to get the number 8. So that's a possible pair. When we add 3 and 3, we'll either get 6 or we'll get 0. That's not going to get us to the number 10. We want to get to the number 10. So 1 and 9 are your numbers, x times x and 1 times 9. So now we have to determine, do we put pluses or minuses, and how many of each of them do we put? This term here, or this sign there, plus, tells us both of them are going to be the same. They're either going to both be plus plus or both minus minus. Once you know that, this sign here tells us that they're both going to be plus. So x plus 1, x plus 9. All you need to do is follow the procedure with these. Let's look at number 3. Let's see the difference between 1 and 2, and then number 3. Notice the sign that's in front of C in this case. We'll get to it in just a second. Factor out 40. 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 3 times nothing, 4 times 10, 5 times 8, and then 6 and 7 times nothing. Those are your factors. Let's make yourself a set of parentheses to go with that. And we know x times x gives us x squared. We know when we put 1 and 40 together, we're either going to get 39 or we're going to get 41. So that one doesn't work. We know when we put 2 and 20 together, we're either going to get 18 or we're going to get 22. That one doesn't work. We're looking for the number 6. When you put 4 and 10 together, you're either going to get 14 or you're going to get 6. So that's possible. And then 5 and 8 being put together is going to give you 13, or it's going to give you 3, not 6. So our numbers have to be 4 and 10. Again, we don't know plus or minus yet. This sign, unlike 1 and 2, now it's negative. All a negative sign means is that you'll have different signs. That means one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. 1 plus and 1 minus. Once you know that they're different, look to the first sign, the one that's in front of the b value. That tells you the value, or that tells you the sign of the larger number. So as you're looking at 4 and 10, 10 is the larger number. It is going to be plus, which means the other one, 4, is minus. So x minus 4 times x minus 10. If you need to FOIL it back out to check, x times x is x squared. X times 10 is 10x. X times negative 4 is minus 4x. And negative 4 times 10 is minus 40. X squared plus 6x minus 40. Notice it gets us back to the same trinomial. You can always FOIL it back out to check. Number 4, again, 4 is almost like 3. So a lot of your legwork is done for you for this one, meaning we already factored out 40 a second ago. And we know to get to the number 6, we have to use the numbers 4 and 10. That's the only way to get to the number 6. So x 4 and x 10. We need to put in a plus or a minus now. Remember, this sign, since it's negative, tells us different signs. This one, since they're different, tells us which one, it tells us the sign of the larger number. That says minus. 10 is a larger number than 4, so 10 becomes minus and 4 becomes positive. And then finally, number 5, again, you always want to start yourself with a set of parentheses. And we know since we don't have a coefficient, x times x. Need to factor out the C value 24. We did it earlier. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Which one of those sets, when we add them or subtract them, gives us 11? Here's your B value, 11. So 1 and 24 are either going to give us the number 25 or 23, so it's not that one. 2 and 12 is either going to give us 14 or it's going to give us 10. Not that one. We're looking for 11. 3 and 8 is either going to give us 11 or 5. That's a possible one. And 4 and 6 is either going to give us 10 or it's going to give us 2, not 11. So the only numbers that work are 3 and 8. Remember this sign, now unlike 3 and 4, now it's going back to how 1 and 2 was. It's positive. That means they're going to be the same sign. That means they're either both going to be plus plus or they're both going to be minus minus. Once you know that much, look at the first sign, the one that's in front of the B value. It says minus. They're both the same. So it is minus minus. X minus 3 times x minus 8.